Hey folks, how's it going? It's it's been a while, hasn't it? I think I looked at my YouTube stats the other day, and I think it said the last video I put out was 162 days ago. So yeah, content's been a little bit slow because life gets in the way of things, doesn't it? Not necessarily a bad thing, but I've been kind of busy lately, and I'm going to continue to be very busy. So content has slowed down. So sorry about that, but anyway, I've got some free time today, so I thought we'd do something a little bit Amstrad-y. So anyway, as you can see, I've got a couple of little projects to look at today. One of them being an Amstrad CPC 464, and this I bought. It must be a good couple of years ago now, easily a good couple of years ago, and it's been on the to-do list since I bought it. Just never quite got round to it. Other things have been popping up. I have no idea what I paid for it. I can't remember. It was probably too much. It usually is with me. I also have absolutely no idea if it works. I've not even tested it. I've not put power to it, so who knows. So I thought, while I've got some free time, we'll have a little look at this today, and we'll see how it goes. We'll put power to it and see if anything happens, see if it explodes. I don't know. You see, policy of mine is, and this is not the right thing to do, this is just me, good grief, don't copy what I do. When I get something retro, I tend to just plug them in, and it's a policy that's generally worked okay for me. I think I've only had a couple of things explode in my face, so really I'll take it as a win. Really, you probably want to investigate a little bit more before you start doing things like that. I'm an idiot, and one of these days I'm going to set fire to myself, but yeah. Anyway, yes, we'll get round to this. So depending on what we find here, this is either going to be a repair video, or it could just be a cleaning video, because it might be absolutely fine. It might just work. I think it was sold to me as untested, which can mean either it was genuinely untested, or they've plugged it in and it didn't work and they've just sold it on that. That does happen as well. I don't know. We'll find out. So it could be a really exciting video, or it could be something really boring. But I'm already kind of up on the deal already, because it did come with a free game, and it came with focus, Amsoft Fruit Machine, which apparently is not for resale and was given free. Yeah, I don't think Alan Sugar's ever given anything away for free. I'm sure it was factored into the price, but hey, what do I know? Anyway, yes, we've got an Amstrad CPC to look at, but in a related note, yet a completely different sale, and I think I bought this about a year ago as well, is this, and it's an Amstrad power supply for the Amstrad CPC. So what would happen is, when you bought the Amstrad, is originally it would have come with a monitor, and depending on your budget you would have either had a green screen or you would have had a colour monitor. But it wasn't just a monitor, it also housed the power supply for the computer. So really you have to have that monitor to use the computer. With the modern cables and modern power supplies that you can buy, that's not really an issue. You can buy a cable fairly cheaply to hook it up to a modern TV, and that's not an issue. But back in the day, you couldn't do that. So Amstrad brought this out, and it's a replacement power supply for the CPC, and it's called, if that'll focus, I have no idea if that's focusing, the MP1 module. I believe there was an MP1 and an MP2, and they were basically the same thing. I think the MP2 had an extra 12 volt rail for the Amstrad disk drive. I think that's the only difference, but yeah, this was sold as an accessory, so if you wanted to use your computer with a different TV, for example. So I'm not exactly sure why they made this, but what I do know is, oh, the dog's coming. Yeah, sorry about that. I've just had to pause. The dog came in and steamrolled right over the camera, so yeah, sorry about that. I've just got to try and remember where I was up to now. Ah, yes, I was talking about the MP1 module, wasn't I? Yeah. So it's got a hookup for the RGB connector. It's got an RF output, so the picture's not going to be anything like as good as it would be on the monitor. and it also provides the 5 volts that you need to power the computer as well. So yeah, I mean, with modern cables that you can buy very cheaply and modern power supplies, there's no need for these whatsoever. The only reason I've got this one is just out of curiosity, I suppose. This has been hanging around for about a year. I know it's faulty. I haven't powered it on, I haven't tried it. I know it's faulty because the seller told me it was faulty, and why would you possibly make that up? I think in the advert description they said it makes a fizzing and cracking noise when you plug it in, and there's no voltage coming out at the plug. So I'm going to take his word for it. Normally I'm quite happy just to roll the dice and plug something in. This case I know it's faulty, so let's not plug it in. Let's see if we can get this thing to work. So that, I think, is going to be the first thing I'm going to look at, and then if we can get this to work, then maybe we can use this to power that Amstrad and see if that works. Right then, let's try, and I won't worry about the mess of wires at the moment. Let's just have a look inside. Let me just reposition the camera just a little bit. Knock the autofocus on so it'll ideally stay in focus, although I've probably just made it stay permanently out of focus. Who knows? Let's buzz these screws out and just see what we've got. Is that going to come out? Yes, it is. Lovely. Right, so one in each corner. Is that a screw hole? Yep, one in each corner. Screws are out, and case comes off, and yeah, well, that's very simple looking inside. Okay, so what have we got? So we've got the transformer with the mains coming in, and I believe about 9 volts AC coming out. We've got some smoothing capacitors, diodes for rectification. They're going to be quite substantial. Couple of voltage regulators there, so we'll have to look up and see what they are, but one of them at least is going to be a 7805, I assume. And then we've got our little video board, so we've got the RF out there. I presume that's some sort of decoder chip, the RGB there. Are we focusing? I've no idea. Yeah, there doesn't look to be a lot to it. What I can't see is any physical evidence of burns or anything like that. So I think what I might do, rightly or wrongly, let's isolate everything here. Let's isolate the transformer completely. Let's take these wires off. Let's plug the transformer itself in, so just that is powered, and just see what voltages we're getting on the outputs, or if it's making a horrible fizzing and cracking noise, we'll leave it alone because it'll need a new transformer, at which point it's probably not worth fixing. But yeah, let's try that first. Let's isolate these. Okay, let's see what we can do. Let's just take these wires off for now. Okay, so the transformer's been isolated now, so I'll plug it in and I'll just see what it does, if it makes any noise or anything. If nothing explodes, then I'll check for voltages, I guess. It's worth noting that this is potentially quite dangerous. So when I plug this in, these connections here are going to be live at mains voltage, and that is easily enough to kill someone. So it's probably me being a complete hypocrite, but don't do what I'm about to do. unless you've got a really steady hand and you're really comfortable around high voltage, because you could quite easily kill yourself by touching these connections. So to make it a little bit safer for myself, let's just put a cover on there, and then we'll take some voltages. But yeah, nothing else should be getting power. If we get a fizzing, popping, cracking noise that the seller described at this point, then we know it's the transformer. Hopefully not, because that would be a difficult thing to try and replace, probably, if I could even be bothered. If that checks out okay, then we know we've got a fault further in. So let me check let me go grab the plug, and we'll see what it does. Right, that's plugged in, and I can hear it humming away, but I can't hear any sort of nasty voltages or anything. Doesn't mean there isn't a fault. There could very well be, but I'm not hearing what the seller described. So let me just unplug it, let me get my multimeter out and set that up, and we'll take some voltages. Alright, I'm going to plug it in and let's take some voltage readings. I'm set to volts AC. Let's see what happens. Right, we're buzzing. God. So 19.7, 19.8, 19. 20 volts there. Okay. About there. 8.7 volts there. 8.8. Okay. I think that's working. I think it's working. Let me just check. I did find a schematic online. Let me just bring it up. One more connection to test. Seven, 8.3 volts. Okay, right. So let's unplug it. Okay, so yeah, it does appear that the transformer's doing something. Whether those are the right voltages or not, I'm not sure. They probably are. So I think that's working. So I think what we'll do next is we'll reconnect the wiring. We'll power it on again. In fact, oh, do I check for a short? No, do you know what? Let's reconnect these wires. Let's put power to it and let's just see what we get. Because I'm not getting the symptoms that the seller described at all. Okay, so I've jumped ahead just a little bit. I went ahead and I reconnected those wires. I just soldered them back in, and I thought I'll just quickly plug it in and see if see what difference it makes. I was expecting the fizzing, cracking, popping noise that the seller described, and no, it's humming away quite happily, as you can hopefully see. The plug's a bit dirty, but if I hold the probes steady, I am getting a lovely steady 5 volts out of the plug. Plug's a bit dirty, so the connection can be a little bit iffy, but yeah, as far as I can tell, the power supply section of this, at least, is working. Hang on, the voltage is jumping around a little bit, but I think that is just a dirty plug. Yeah, I'm getting a steady 5 volts. I can't find anything wrong with this so far, and I'm absolutely stunned. I can only assume that the seller didn't test it correctly. I don't know how have they managed to develop the issues that they were talking about, the fizzing, cracking noise. Did he have his multimeter set to measure current when he went to test it, and he's ended up shorting out the device or something? I don't know. This makes no sense, but I can't find a fault. It's making a nice little humming noise. I'm getting a steady 5 volts out of the socket. There's no reason why I would not trust this not to blow up an Amstrad. So I think we put it back together and we test it out on the Amstrad. Do you know, I'm a little miffed. I paid good money for a broken piece of crap. I was assured it was a broken piece of crap, and it turns out it works. I don't know how this has happened. Maybe it'll develop a fault later. Maybe it's got an intermittent fault. But I highly suspect when the guy's tested it, he's made a mistake. And maybe he's shorted the plug or something, and that resulted in the fizzing noises that he's heard. But I can't see anything wrong with this at all, so I'm going to put it back together and plug it into that Amstrad and see what happens. Well, I can't help but feel just a little bit ripped off. I paid for something that was guaranteed faulty, and so far I can't find a fault with it. Doesn't mean it's completely working, it might not be generating a picture signal, but I'm definitely getting me 5 volts. So, while I'm getting a steady 5 volts, let's just plug this thing in. Maybe this will be faulty, I don't know, maybe the video will suddenly become more interesting. So, yeah. 5 volts in there. Let's see. RGB connector in there. Then I need to plug that into the back of my TV and then plug the whole thing in, and we'll see what it does. Let me just... Oh, everything's tangled. Hang on. Everything's tangled. Let me plug that into the aerial socket, power up the TV, and we'll see if we can get a picture to tune in. Right, plugged in. Let's turn the power on. Oh, for goodness sake. Power lights come straight on, and if that'll focus, yeah, that is generating what looks like a really, I mean, it's obviously RF and it's a little bit wavy, it's not as crisp as it would be on RGB, but that's a decent picture. Yeah, what a boring video this is turning out to be. Everything seems to be working. So keyboard's all working. Okay, what about the cassette? Let's assume the belt's knackered. Let's just take the cassette out for now and just see. Aha! Right, rewind's working. Fast forward, oh no, there it goes. That's working. Play, not so much. Okay, so we've probably got a slipping belt there. So, hey, we found the fault. That's something. Right, so it's going to be a video about a clean-up of a computer and a belt replacement. I'm sorry, I was expecting to do something more along the lines of the electronics repair. I was assured this was faulty when I bought it, and it's not. Am I the first person ever to complain about something being faulty, well, not being faulty when it should have been when you buy it? I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't be complaining. Okay, fine. Let's go ahead then. Let's tear this down, clean it up, put a new belt on, and see if we can actually load some software. Okay, so just before we dig into this computer and start cleaning it up, I thought I would compare it to my other CPC that I've had for quite a few years now, and although they look the same, there are differences. So looking on the face of it, it's almost the same, but the logos are slightly different. I'm hoping that's coming up on the camera. Do you know what? Let me go in a bit closer. Ugh. So that's the one. That's my most recent purchase, albeit 2 years ago. And that's my original. They're also slightly different in the layout of the connectors too, so I think this is where all the Amstrad people are going to start shouting at me saying, oh, it's the difference between a long board and a short board, and there'll be numerous differences between, you know, revisions within that as well, which I'm just not familiar with. But anyway, I'll show you what I found. So on mine, well, they're both mine, sorry, on my original, I've got the power supply and the RGB connection here, the printer and expansion here, and then the joystick connector and the sound port there. On this one, everything's been moved around, so where you would have the power and RGB, that's not there. The expansion connectors are still there, although in a slightly different place. RGB and power have been moved to here. Joystick port is not there. It is along with the sound jack on the side. So yeah, so there were different revisions. It's probably a cost-cutting exercise, which is fine, which is absolutely fine. I believe functionality-wise the computers are identical. I did have a look, and I think if you look on the CPC wiki it gives you information about the serial numbers. So if I look excuse me, if I look on my original, I'm not going to go through all the different types of serial number because I'll probably give you the wrong information and someone will shout at me. I don't know if that's focusing or not, but I've got 533 hash, and then the next two digits I believe are the manufacturing date. So it's year, so for this one 1987, and that would be a 4, so that would be April 1987 that this was made. If we look at this one, I'll try and do this one-handed and probably smash it to bits while I'm at it. Hopefully that's focusing, I'm really not sure, but 542 hash. Then we've got year, so 1989, so it's later, and that would make sense because if it's cost-cutted reduced board, then that would be a development. And same month, April, so April 1989, so this is a couple of years newer than the other one. And yeah, there's obviously been a revision change there, so there are differences. So let's just have a little recap. I've gone through this computer which I bought untested. We've powered it up. Everything so far seems to work on it, with the exception that the tape deck's a little bit iffy, but that's probably just down to a belt. That's fine, I have a belt. So that works. So the only real thing to do with this now is a clean up and a belt change, maybe just lubricate the tape deck a bit. Hopefully that'll all come back to life. We were going to look at the power supply, the MP1, which I was told was faulty. It turns out it works just fine, so we wasted a load of time diagnosing that when I could have just plugged it in and tested it, but because the seller said it was fizzing and cracking, I didn't think that was a good idea. I still don't understand how he's got that to fizz and crackle, other than maybe when he was testing it he's accidentally shorted it out and that's why it wasn't working for him. I don't know. So it's not the electronics repair video I envisage making. That's kind of what I was hoping for, so it's going to be a computer cleaning video. So yeah, so there's the remote. If you want to hop to another channel, I wouldn't blame you really at this point. Hopefully the next video will have something a bit more meaty in it, I don't know, but that's what we've got for this, so I'll just crack on with this, I suppose. Right, if you're going to stick around, let's crack this open. And when I say crack, I don't mean literally. Okay, straight away I'm missing a screw. That's good. Always a good start when people do that. Let's buzz the rest of them out. Okay, let me just be careful and unplug the keyboard. Does the tape deck unplug? Or am I just going to be working around something that's... Oh yeah, there it goes. Reassuring snap. Right. Okay. Do you know this computer's so big I can't get it all in shot. Well, there we go. It's filthy. It's absolutely, completely rotten. Are we in focus? Probably not. Keyboard will need stripping out and stripping down. Tape deck belt is still in one piece, but yeah, there's no real tension on it, so that's knackered. I'll tell you what, let's strip a few things down. Let's get a few so we can get the plastic casing soak if nothing else. This thing is filthy. Absolutely filthy. Come on, focus, you little bugger. Drive belt, while it is still intact, is very loose and very perished. Yeah. Let's put you back in the stand actually. Let's start with the main board. Let's get that out of here. So I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws. Let's pull those out. Right, that can come out. That can go for a bath. There we go, that can all go for a bath. So other parts are in soak, so I think I need to clean the keyboard up as well. These are usually pretty disgusting. It feels disgusting, it feels all gritty and horrible, and yeah, I don't want anything to do with that. Other people's finger juice, no. My own dirt I can handle, but other people's, blah. No. Let's strip it down. So it should be a simple case of just pushing these tabs back, and I can hear them clicking. I say should be because we're talking about 30-plus-year-old brittle plastics here, so you've got to be a bit careful. Use it with a bit of respect because they could break. If you take your time and you're careful, you should be okay. Come on. Oh, there's always one that's stubborn. And I'm just scared of putting too much pressure on it. I don't like that. There we go. That's got it. So back plate is off. Membrane should just gently pull away. Doesn't look too bad. And yeah, it's dirty. I mean, it's not as bad as I thought it would be. I've seen worse. I think my last Amstrad was worse. But let's go in. There's a few dust bunnies in there. But I have seen a lot worse. Okay, I'm going to go through, I'm going to pop the keys out, and I'm going to do it from this side. So I'm going to be pushing in on these little tabs and popping the keys out. I'll show you on a couple of keys. I'll show you on one key actually, and then I'll do the rest off camera, I think. Most of the keys you're just pushing back on these plastic tabs and you're popping the key out the other side. With some of them, you've got these little stabiliser bars. So I'm just going to pop those out first. Pretty straightforward things. Just push up on the key and they will just slide out like that. And then we can just pop these little clips back, pop the key out, it'll fall out, and then there's a little retaining spring that you need to save as well. And that's that, really. I'm going to go ahead and do that with the rest of the keys. Strip this down. My battery light is flashing, so I need to stop recording anyway. I'll bring you back when this has all been stripped down. And thanks to the magic of crappy editing, it's now the next day. So where did I leave off last night? Yeah, case has all been washed, keys have all been cleaned, so everything's just drying up. So I thought, well, while we're waiting for that to happen, let's have a look at the tape deck. So I think in my comments yesterday I said the fast forward and rewind were working but the play wasn't, and it dawned on me this morning that the play wouldn't work, because it doesn't on an Amstrad until you actually put it into the correct mode on the computer. The play button doesn't respond, so that function could very well be working as well. But the tape deck itself is filthy, and when I do put it into the play position, and hopefully this will come up on the camera, when I do try to turn the wheel here, the belt is slipping pretty badly, so that belt's no good. Also, the whole mechanism is absolutely filthy. It's full of dirt, so I don't want to spend too much time on this. These are a pretty robust, reliable unit, and they don't really need an awful lot of work, but I do need to get the fluff out of it. I do need to change the belt, and I do need to clean the heads. And what I might do as well is I might just put some extra lubrication in. Just a little bit of... just to replace the aging 30-year-old sort of grease that's in there that's probably not doing what it should be doing. I've got... if I can find it... new belt. So that can go in. I didn't buy a replacement belt for the tape counter, but I might have one in my stash. I'll have a little dig. But right now, I think it's not even that bad, this. It's not even that dirty. Let's get a little bit of IPA. A little bit of IPA in a lint-free cloth. Let's just clean the heads up. Capstan and Prince roller. Much easier to do this when it's out the machine, so I might as well do it now. There we go. Right, I'll tell you what, while we're this side, let's take this tape counter belt off. This is the one I don't have a replacement for. But I do have a pack of universal belts, and one of them's bound to fit, surely to goodness. It's not that critical with a tape counter. I mean, who used them anyway? I didn't. But let's see what we can do. So, there's my belt. Let me just go and get me have a look at my stash. Okay, surely to goodness something there's going to fit. I don't know. Let's start at the smaller size. Does that look about right? I don't think it's a million miles off. I don't want it being too tight because that will affect how it runs. I think we're getting there. That's a bit bigger. That might do. Let's try that one. So that's our original. You can see the state of it. I mean, it's not even pulling into a round shape anymore. It's just sort of permanently bent into the shape where it last rested, so that's not going to work properly. Let's replace it with this one. Let's just see how that goes, see if it fits and it doesn't pull too tightly. We can Okay, little bit fiddly, but it's in. It feels maybe a little bit on the loose side, but it's not a problem. It's not having to pull a tape mechanism round, so it's got enough tension to turn the counter, and that's all I really care about. So that's in. That's absolutely fine. So that's the tape counter belt all done. Okay, main belt, let's get that out. So we need to take this out, I believe. There we go. That should be all it needs. I'm going to just take a little bit of time, just off camera. I'm going to clean up these keys, and I'm just going to add a little bit of lubrication to the mechanism, and then that can actually go back in the case. I think we're done there. Next is keyboard reassembly, I suppose, and what I like to do is I like to start with all the keys that need the stabiliser bars in. So I suppose the big one is the space bar, so springs in first, line her up, make sure I get it in the right way. That's it. And stabiliser bar should just click right back into place. Pretty easy. There we go. One down. Let's think what's next. If I get one of the big shift keys in, I suppose. Right. For each key you need to put a spring in. One of these things. Just be careful if you're doing what I'm doing. When you take the springs out and you put them in a tub for safekeeping, sometimes they can wind together and it looks like you've picked up one spring when you've picked up two. So just double check each one before you put it in, because you could potentially get to the end and find you're missing a spring and then you don't know which key it's under, so you end up pulling the whole keyboard apart again. Yeah, ask me how I know. if that's the top half of the case all put back together, then the only thing left to do is put the board back in the bottom half and screw it all together, and we're finished really. So I'll do that, but before I do, it's a little bit grotty, this, so I'm not gonna go mad. I'm not gonna start spraying it down with IPA and washing the board down like I normally would. I'm just gonna give it a little brush and get some of the bigger clumps of dirt off. This is an anti-static brush, by the way, just in case you're wondering. And what I might do while I've got the board out is I might just clean up the edge connector a little bit. So if I can just find a cloth and a little bit of IPA, and it's so much easier to do this when it's out the case. Yeah, I mean, they're pretty good. They're not scored, they've probably never been used. That'll do, I think. Okay, so let me zoom out. Let me find the bottom half of the case, and that can all go back together. So, yeah. Have I got that the right way round? Yes, I think so. Something like that, I believe. Yeah. Okay. That should be that. I'll just flip it over and put the screws in off camera, and then we'll well, I suppose we'll attempt to load some software. All screwed back together and powered up. We're plugged back into the MP1, and we are getting our RF signal outputting just fine. Everything seems to work. We'll test the tape deck and see if we can load some software. I suppose we'll try the game that came with it. So let's just, I'll just fast forward and rewind it first and just loosen the tape up. I don't know how long it's been stuck in one position for, so the tape might have bound up a little bit. So I'll just do that to free it off. Nearly there. Play. Right, moment of truth. Will it chew the cassette? So let's just see if it does anything. I'm watching it like a hawk. It's not making any horrible noises. Will it work? I mean, this cassette might be no good. I have no idea. Oh, it's doing something anyway. And it's not eating the tape, which is a good sign. Right, I'll let that run. I'll probably cut this out the video. If and when it loads, I'll bring you back. Okay, seems to have worked. Ooh, that's loud. Well, there's nothing wrong with the speaker anyway. Right, I have no idea how to play this, so spacebar? Okay. I mean, am I playing? Is this a demo? I don't know. Well, it's loaded anyway. Alright, let's turn that down. Interesting thing with this MP1 that I've just thought of actually. You're only going to get sound out of the speaker built into the computer. You're not going to get it through the TV because there's no connection to the sound output. So that's where the more modern cables score again, is that you can output the sound to the TV. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the internal speaker, I suppose. For an 8-bit computer, it's more than adequate. But yeah, there's that. I'm assuming the original monitor wouldn't have had a speaker built into it either. Please correct me if I'm wrong on that. But anyway, but yes, well there we go. It seems to be functioning. Not the video I was planning on making. I was hoping for just seeing what we found with this, and with the MP1 I was kind of expecting to have to do some sort of electronics repair, given on what I was told when I bought it that it was faulty, but clearly it's not. Okay, I'm going to switch that off, that's driving me crackers. Yeah, so there you go. I hope you've found it entertaining if you've made it this far, and thank you very much for your time, I suppose. It's been a pleasure, absolute pleasure talking to you as always, and I'll see you on the next one. I don't know when that'll be. Could be a while, but we'll see. Anyway, take care. Actually, just before I go, I'm just going to quickly show you this. It's one of those all-in-one cassette TV radio units from the 80s. I was working on this just over Christmas. In fact, I started it just before Christmas and I didn't finish it till the new year. I didn't film it because I didn't think it would be that interesting. First of all, I didn't think it was the sort of thing that would interest people to see. And secondly, I wasn't expecting it to be the repair that it was, and it was insane. I think it's either had somebody plugged the wrong power supply into it at some point, or it actually got struck by lightning, because there were transistors and all sorts of components inside that had physically melted, and it took a lot of time and a lot of repair work to get this going. It is fully functioning now. I've no really use for it. I only bought it for something to tinker with, but it's fine. I've been able to load games from the cassette deck, which is pretty much all I use it for. The TV works really well. I've just been using it to watch the monsters on, to be honest with you, but yeah. I just thought I'd point out that I could have made you something really interesting video wise, because this would have been interesting, I think, and didn't. So yeah, sorry about that. Anyway, I'm definitely going now. If by some miracle you do want to see an overview on this unit, if it's of any interest to anyone, let me know, and I'll put a quick video together, but it won't be the repair video I could have made, unfortunately. Anyway, definitely going now.